Koa Peat. 1 year at the University of Arizona. And now, and this is the interesting part that I've kind of been wrestling with for the last week as I kind of watched all of a lot of you out there in this fan base, fawning over this young man and great. We love Koa Peat. He had a great 1 year here, very good one. I'm not gonna say great, but he had a very good 1 year here. But the amount of fawning about whether or not this young man was going to come back and should come back was very interesting to me because again I can't when I look at this team, I'm going to remember him, but he's not going to be the first guy I remember on this team from last season. I don't even know if he's the second guy I'm going to remember on this team from last season. And that's in part, and as we go down 15, 20 years from now, when we talk about this 2026 Arizona Wildcat team and what the great memories of that were, I think Jaden Bradley's going to be at the top of that conversation. I think Toby Awaka is going to be at the top of that conversation. Then maybe you get into the freshman that only played one season here, but I'm always going to be fawning over the guys that I got to know for a while. I got to know Jaden Bradley for 3 years. I got to know Toby Awaka for at least a couple of years. No disrespect to Koa Peat, but he's not going to be the first guy. He's not going to be the second guy that I remember from that 2026 team in 10, 15, 20 years.
I'm just going to remember the whole team.
Yeah.
I think the whole team, and they talked about it, throughout the year, was about the camaraderie, how much they played for each other. And so I get like the idea of your favorite player or favorite memories from a season. But when I look back 10 years from now at this 25-26 team, it's going to be the unit themselves. What was it? 7 20-point scorers, right? I mean, so the just sheer amount of depth that the team had and versatility that they had off the bench. But you're right. I mean, how could any fan? There are certain guys, DK, like Mike Bibby, who you think of that freshman year was magic. Why? Because they cut the nets down. But the average fan of any sport, basketball, football, lacrosse, doesn't matter, is going to always connect with those players who are on campus for 2 or 3 years. And why is that? Because a big part of fandom is watching the growth of young players from the day they step on campus to the day that they leave. And you get to track that. You get to see a guy like Jaden Bradley improve his outside shooting a little bit over time. And when guys are one and done, that's been the one and done era since the early 2000s, late 90s. It's just that fleeting moment, DK, where you only get to see a guy. I mean, Nico Mannion, right? Like the idea of like players who are only here for a year and they're kind of afterthoughts because we didn't get that growth time, that time of 2 or 3 years of getting to really know a player and what they're all about. And I think a big part of it is he's an in-state guy who won 4 state championships, won how many gold medals with the under teams? 4? Right. So, I mean, he's just a winner, always says the right things, good family, good head on his shoulders. So I think easy to root for Koa. And I think probably the voting and all the people you heard of, DK, understand that big glaring weakness for next year's roster is at the power forward spot, and he would solve a lot of those issues. But like I said yesterday, I just wish him nothing but the best. And currently I'm seeing On3 has him going 29th, DK, to
the
your
Cleveland Cavaliers.
That would be
there
correct.
You go. Koa Peat in Cleveland.
Wouldn't be a bad spot for him either.
The rest of them dudes.
Get a little bit of learning from Jared Allen. Maybe you help out with his rebounding a bit. And Evan Mobley, you go ahead and get a little bit of assistance right there with the footwork and the post. That would not be a bad spot for him to kind of learn into the NBA game. The thing, DK, I get what you're saying. You're not going to be you're going to be paying attention more so to the guys that you were there for a long period of time and the journey to get to that Final Four run. It's hard to go ahead and talk about that team, though, if you're not going to say, well, the 2 freshmen were leading the team in scoring. Koa Peat was the second overall scorer on the team in regards to average. He was the third best rebounder. That's mostly because Tobe Awaka was an absolute maniac.
Try to get the ball. Try to get the ball.
No,
fresh.
He had a little bit of that Carmelo Anthony, get out of my way, I'm getting this board, this is mine mentality. And you didn't see Koa play with Tobe on the court at the same time. It was really more so Moteus and Tobe as a unit, as a duo. And then they kind of kept it small after a while. They wouldn't really have Tobe and Koa working side by side. So even more so of a reason why you weren't seeing Koa get a lot of those rebound numbers overall. But again, the end of the day, the biggest thing about what every college basketball roster is going to be graded on, at least in the early part, is how good's your incoming freshman class going to be. And this was one of the highest ranked freshman classes for the U of A in a very, very long time. I believe this was the highest rated freshman class for Tommy coming into this season since he took on the job at the U of A. So
I think Koa and Braden were both top 10.
Yeah.
And I think Dwayne Aristode was in the 30s.
Mm-hmm. So I get what you're saying, that you're going to remember the guys that were here for a lot longer. Again, Jaden Bradley had been here for 2 to 3 years, if my memory serves me right. Again, the transfer from Alabama, I believe it was 3. And then you also have, again, Moteus had been here the year before and had go through the injury and really kind of showed his character coming back from the injury that he did to play as well as he did this past season. But in the end, freshmen are typically what grade a team's memorability factor, because those are the fresh faces and they're usually the ones that do a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes down to tournament time.
How are you going to remember Koa Peat? What is going to be your lasting, in your mind, your lasting legacy of what he meant to this program?